I'm Dr. Albanese, and in today's video we're going to be talking about choosing the right electrolyte for you. Depending on why you're taking or drinking an electrolyte will depend on which type of electrolyte you use. Most people aren't aware that there are different concentrations of sodium, and based on what the intent is of using an electrolyte will depend on what concentration of sodium would be best for you. Now, the daily requirements for sodium are about 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. Unfortunately, the average person goes way above that, especially because of processed foods, foods that are in a box or container. Typically, there's a lot of sodium added to those foods. So the average American consumes about 3,400 to 3,500 milligrams of sodium a day, which is 1,000 milligrams over the highest part of the recommendation for sodium consumption. So that can have a lot to do with what type of electrolyte we choose to have every day. So let's go through this and kind of break it down and explain why I would choose certain electrolytes over the others. We're going to start with liquid IV. Now, I don't have anything to do with any of these products, by the way. I'm not paid, I'm not endorsed, I have nothing to do with them. I buy them all out of my own pocket. So I have nothing in the game. This is merely for informational purposes. So we'll start with liquid IV. This is a pretty common electrolyte, and that's the reason why I chose to talk about liquid IV. Liquid IV has about 500 milligrams of sodium in one of these little packets. So I'm a little leery of people using liquid IV on a regular basis that are just looking to increase water retention. Unless you're doing a lot of exercise, you don't need to add 500 milligrams of sodium in an electrolyte. If you're non-active, if you're just looking to increase water retention, I don't think liquid IV would be the best option. And this is why. Two reasons. Number one, 500 milligrams of sodium. So if you're at the high end of, say, 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day in your regular diet, 500 is going to put you over the recommended daily allowance. So if you're like the average American consuming about 3,500 milligrams of sodium a day, that's going to bring you way over what the recommendations are. And ultimately, that can cause problems. So that's why I rule out liquid IV. The go-to electrolyte for folks that are just looking to increase their water retention and hydration is Ultima. I find this product really good. It's a non-GMO product. It has 7 different electrolytes in it, and it has 55 milligrams of sodium. So not a lot of sodium, not a high concentration, but enough to increase hydration. And I use this every day. When I wake up, this is the first thing I have in the morning, is a glass of water with Ultima. And I might have that 2 or 3 times during the course of the day, depending on how I feel and how hot it is and what I'm doing. But this is a great electrolyte. This would be a great electrolyte for someone who's sitting at their desk, working in an office, really anyone who isn't doing extensive exercise or intense exercise. This is a great electrolyte just for daily hydration purposes. Now, M1 Sport is the electrolyte I use when I'm exercising. When it's fairly warm out, say 70 degrees, up to maybe 80 degrees, not too humid, and I'm doing about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of exercise at one time, cardio exercise outside, I'll choose M1 Sport. Again, it has about 350 milligrams of sodium, so this is really designed for someone who's exercising, or if you're playing golf or tennis, or maybe you're doing a lot of activity in the yard and you're going to be sweating a lot, because we sweat sodium, and this is a good replenisher for that. So that's my go-to when I'm taking part in moderate type exercise, but I am going to be outside and sweating a decent amount. Now, I use electrolyte by BPN, and these two products are by Bayer Performance Nutrition. Really great company. I use this one when I'm going to take part in more intense exercise, or if it's for a longer duration, or it's a lot hotter and more humid, maybe mid 80s to 90s, and the humidity around the same percentage. So that's when I'm going to use electrolyte. And this has 500 milligrams of sodium. So the sodium content is a lot higher, but I use this when I'm going to be sweating a lot more, or taking part in exercise that's going to be a longer duration. So that's my go-to in that case. Last, we have Element. Element is 1,000 milligrams of sodium, about 200 milligrams of potassium. This has a very high sodium content. In my opinion, this is for when you're doing very intense exercise, or exercising or doing something outside for an extensive period of time. Maybe a firefighter who's wearing a lot of equipment, or somebody who's taking part in, a pretty intense tennis match, or you're going to be outside at 95 degrees and 90+% humidity playing golf for, several hours. This would be a better choice, especially if you're going to be sweating a lot. 1,000 milligrams is a lot of sodium. I only use that when I'm racing, or I'm going to be outside, maybe going for a 40 or 50 mile bike ride and then going for a 7-8 mile run. I'll be outside for a couple hours. That's when I'm going to use this. For daily consumption, I was talking to a patient one day and they said, "Oh, I use Element." I said, "That's great. It's a great product, but you don't need this as just a daily hydration tool, because if you're even, say, having 2,000 milligrams of sodium in your regular diet, this is going to put you over very quickly." So the amount of the concentration of sodium is very high. That's not something you want to have just on a daily basis, unless you're doing very intense and excessive amount of exercise. Do you want to use something like Element? So these are the different electrolytes I use. One thing about the Liquid IV too, I might have failed to mention, a lot of their products, not all of them, but a lot add sugar, about 20 grams of sugar. So that's something else you want to look for with Liquid IV if you're choosing to use that product. Ultima doesn't add sugar. They do add a little bit of flavoring and stevia, which a lot of the electrolytes do, just to add some flavor. But I'd rather use that than added sugar. And then these electrolytes more for exercise and a higher amount of sweating and perspiration. So I hope this gives you a basic idea of the different types of electrolytes and why it's important to educate yourself about the sodium content within the electrolyte that you're consuming, as well as does it add sugar to has the company added sugar to your electrolyte? That's something else you want to look for, because if you're having an electrolyte, you're using it for hydration, you don't want to have sugar in that too. So these are some great products. And again, I'm not endorsed or paid by these companies. These are just products that I consume and I purchase on a daily basis for myself and my family. So I hope this gives you a better understanding of electrolytes. If it does, please share it and subscribe and let us know what you think of our videos. So until next time, have a great day and be well.